hello. Start losing my voice again already. Right off that hello, I was like,
we're only one word in.
Swallow the mic.
Brian, that's on you. And your screen just
take it over. Take it from here.
It goes technical difficulties. Please stand by on your screen for the whole episode. Yeah.
Today we're doing season 3, episode 3, The Pen, that originally aired on October 2nd, 1991, and on the DVD it's episode 5. So we're already off track.
Already off. That's why do they keep doing that? It makes whatever.
They keep changing the DVDs on me.
Yeah. This episode, definitely different vibe. But yeah, some iconic parts.
I did look at the bonus footage on the DVD.
Yeah.
And Larry and Jerry were talking, and both of them have parents that live in one of these communities in Florida. Yeah. And they said we have to get the pettiness that's in these communities into an episode.
The drama and stuff like that ensues in this episode is great.
Yeah.
Over nothing.
And then Ben Shapiro had a space pen, and Larry David was like, "What's that pen?" He goes, "It's a space pen. You can write upside down with it." And he's like, "Oh, cool." And he goes, "Here, have it." And he made Larry take the pen. So that's why they wrote that into the episode too. And it worked out.
The space pen.
I think if you took this episode and pitched it to somebody, they'd be like, "The fuck are you even talking about? This makes no sense." But it is a pretty good episode.
Yeah, so iconic parts and stuff like that. And then recurring characters, I think, make their debut in this one.
Mm-hmm.
So, or at least one, Jack Klumpus.
Yeah.
So.
And he was good.
But I think, I think the second time we see Uncle Leo is in this one.
Yeah.
Hello. Maybe that's how he said, Jerry, hello.
I was thinking it was the first Morty, but I guess it's not the first Morty.
No, I think he was in the one where, wasn't it her grandmother or like
the pony?
The pony one.
Yeah.
Where that woman dies.
Yeah.
So, Morty is in this. Helen's in it. So we've seen them before. So it's, they from the jump, those two characters fit their role, and even Uncle Leo too. They've been that character the whole series.
Yeah, they didn't need to change a thing. They were just perfect.
Yeah, like how George kind of changed, and Kramer kind of got more goofy and Kramery.
Yeah,
Kramer-esque as the show went on. No, they started at Morty and Helen and Leo, and they stayed that way the whole time. Never waved ever. No development in those characters. They are well developed.
Yeah, they just did their thing and they were there.
Yeah. All right. But yeah, so the episode starts off with a bit about old people in bathing suits. How they're old school or not with the times or whatever. It's like, they never threw out their old ones. And then if you forget yours, he's like, "Oh, I visited my parents in Florida. I forgot my, trunks," and something like that. It's that, I guess the bit is that they're so baggy. Like he went parasailing and he's just kind of sitting in the sail if somebody goes by. I guess this one the joke didn't stand really the test of time because as much, I would say, because I picked up what the bit was, but I think styles have changed so much in 30 years from when this episode aired. I don't know what was in style at the time.
Yeah. For
swimsuits. Compared to the old people of the time.
I don't know what's in style today for swimsuits.
I don't know.
I still wear cargo shorts and ripped off jeans, man. Like I don't know what's in style. I just
for swimming, yeah. I'll just grab whatever if it's black, and then so I'm like, that's fine. And then I wouldn't know what a cool swimsuit was then or now, really.
Yeah.
And even just like the name of it goes from trunks to bathing suit to swimsuit. And I'm like, so he's calling it bathing suits, and I'm like, well, I would call it a swimsuit.
Yeah,
so
I would do.
You're not bathing in it. And then trunks, I get that too. But I guess to kind of go off of that, it's just how styles change or whatever, and they go pretty quickly too. I was at a brewery the other night with a buddy of mine, and then he kind of noticed and made a comment about like some dude's shorts. Like his shorts were so fucking short. The guy must have been like 21, something like that. And what's in fashion now is to have like your shorts like as long as like they were like shorter than my boxers.
Like 80s.
like
the 80s.
Yeah, that's in style now. Back in my day, we wore Dickies shorts that were well past our knees. They weren't even sagged. That's just how long they were.
Ours were called, we had for a while. They're called clam diggers. It's almost. Do you remember clam? Or was that a thing? It was like in the 80s when I was like probably 6 or 7. We called them clam diggers, and it was almost like a burlap, and they were long, like past your knee, super baggy style.
Yeah,
but I guess they were made for digging clams. I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I wear the Dickie work shorts or whatever. So it's like Blink-182 and like a lot of the pop punk bands of that time. You know, when I was a teenager up until like early 20s, like that was the jam. And it's like I think the inseam of them was like, you know, 18 inches. So it's like well past. It's like at your calves.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, that's how you wore your shorts, and they were baggy too. Like you could probably fit 2 sets of legs in there. Yeah. And I'm like, and that's how we liked it. Yeah. So to me, and I'm like, yeah. And even now, I don't own really a pair of shorts. I own only jeans or, you know, athletic shorts. And even some of those are getting short. Back in my day, it was like the And One mixtape style shorts where they're just so long. I'm like, yeah, that looks good. And to me, even so, if I was going to buy a pair of shorts, I'd look for those Dickies,
yeah, for sure,
work shorts. And I'm like, yeah, this is good. And I'm going to wear like the tube socks. And I'm like, what's up, kids?
Hello, fellow children.
Like, who's this old fat guy? Hello, children. Anyways, so, you know, back to the episode. It opens up at Jerry's parents' condo. So definitely a different change of scenery here. Jerry's mom is looking out the patio door, so they have a glass door, and you know, waiting for Jerry and Elaine to arrive. Jerry's dad is not even really even paying attention. He's looking for Scotch tape. Can't find the Scotch tape. Someone must have stolen it. They have never returned it. That's his conclusion. It's not that he misplaced it. Somebody has it. They never gave it back to him. Somebody stole it. What he's going to do is, I'm going to hide it so that they can't find it. So he assumes somebody went into his drawer, took it, and then left. Yeah. So he's going to hide it. That's what's going on for him. Not that Jerry's late or anything. And even the mom's like, well, I think they're running late. You should call the airline. Yeah. Where's Jerry? It's like, well, they're not going to care.
Where did the flight land? I guess you'd call an national flight land, but nowadays we'd just check our phone for the flight number and know where they are. Right?
Or text.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, hey, the flight's delayed till this time. Like last time I flew was to see my buddy Kyle, and it was like the flight was delayed by like 4.5 hours for snow.
Oh yeah.
Landed, didn't see a goddamn lick of snow. I think they're liars. Yeah. But he's picking us up, so I'm like, I have to tell him. I'm like, yeah, we're gonna land at 2 hours late, an hour later than that, another hour. It's like, but you have your phone, you can just text.
Yeah.
Anyways, so Jerry and Elaine arrive, and they mention how they spent a long time getting their rental car. And then Jerry's mom insisted, like, oh, we could have picked you up, or it's like, well, I didn't want to, we needed to have a car. And it's like, oh, well, you could have just used our car. We never even use it. And then Morty's like, what are you talking about? We use it. I like how everything with his parents are like to the extreme.
Oh, yeah.
And they have to be like, they're wanting to be like a martyr. Yeah. They're putting themselves out there to do it. It's like, just take my car. We don't even need it.
And that way they can complain later that they didn't have their car.
Yeah. It's like, what are you going to do? Hitch? Yeah. So, and then the mom asks, well, how much was it? And it's like, oh, it's $25 a day. And then Morty chimes in, plus the insurance. And then Jerry mentions he didn't get insurance. So that kind of like, to me, thinks, maybe this little tidbit could come in handy later.
Yeah.
Which it doesn't, actually. It's for a different episode. But it made me, because I've seen the episodes before, spoilers.
Yeah.
There's an episode where Jerry doesn't get insurance and it fucks him over for his rental car. So, but this one, I was thinking, I don't know why I thought. I'm like, oh, maybe that's this episode. No, it wasn't. So there's a lot of little pieces of information in their conversation throughout this episode.
Yeah.
Some of it's important. Like that one, I would have thought it would have been a plot device. And some of it's not important, but it becomes an important plot device.
Down the road. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's almost like they want to squeeze a story in there that they had in their mind, and then it just didn't come through for this episode. We'll get back to it.
Yeah.
My neighbor moved just recently, and they had the shipping container that they had in their yard since they were renting. Mm-hmm. So most of their stuff's still in the shipping container. And they arranged for someone to come in the morning at, I think it was 11 o'clock in the morning. They're supposed to come pick it up.
Yeah.
At 11:30, she called them. She said, "Where are you guys at?" And the guy said, "I have a small business. It's a holiday. My people have the day off. They deserve a break." She goes, "Yeah, but you, I booked it for 11 o'clock. And
yeah.
He goes, "Yeah, well, earliest I can be there at 7 tomorrow morning." And I said, so it ended up being a whole big thing that I scheduled this and you just don't show up and then tell me that it's a holiday and your people deserve a break. Like, what are you even talking about?
Like, you're making me out to be an asshole. It's like, then don't agree to schedule it then.
So I said to her, did you tell them how reservations work? Did you give them the Seinfeld speech? And she didn't understand what I was talking about. I was like, here, listen to my podcast.
Yeah. It's like, you took the reservation, but you don't know how to hold the reservation, which is the most important part of the reservation. Anybody can just take them. Yeah. It's the holding that is the most important part.
I figure by the time we get to that episode, I'll forget the story. I've dealt with that sometimes, like working with like third-party delivery or whatever. They're like, "Why'd you schedule it?" It's like, "Oh, well, how why didn't you make it?" I don't know. You're supposed to deliver this to a customer, and you arrange the date and time, a 2-hour window. What happened that you didn't do it? I don't know. We don't know. Can you find out? Could you maybe ask somebody?
Ask anyone? I don't know. That's above my. I got to talk to a manager. Can you give me a manager?
Yeah.
No, they're not here today. I'm like, fuck.
We don't really have a manager.
I just made that up. We don't have one. Bye. Click. Yeah. Anyways, but the mom is, she wants to cover the rental car because it's, so expensive, and she looks to Morty, like, hey, we should cover this, his rental car fee. And then Morty, he completely looks away. Like, he's like, I'm not going to pay that. $50. But, and then Jerry comments about how hot it is in the condo. They don't, it's like, they don't have the, or it's like, what is it? They say like, well, we don't need the AC. And, and it's like, you're in Florida and you don't need the AC on.
Yeah.
Bullshit.
Like, so humid.
And it's indoors and everything's closed up. Like, oh my God, you could imagine.
I could not live without AC. And the weather we had for the last month, I would go crazy. And when I did have AC, I'll go for a drive just to have AC in the car. Yeah. Right? So I could imagine in Florida it could be that much worse.
Yeah, it hasn't been too bad this year, but it's like in years past, it was so hot that I'm like, I'll electively, like, I'll stay at work, but just like clock out and just like take up like an extra space in the office that we have. And I was just like working on editing a podcast or something.
Yeah.
I could bring my laptop. Yeah. They're like, "Oh, are you off work?" I'm like, "Yeah, it's hot." And they're like, "Yeah, that makes sense."
Yeah.
Just stay there till the sun goes down. I'm like, "Yeah, just another 2 more hours. Well, I might as well just do this and get some of my work done."
Yeah.
In the cool. And people were like, "That's actually pretty smart." I'm like, because sometimes like, oh yeah, it's a huge fucking AC, so that sometimes it's just fucking blowing, and I'm like, yes, dude, this feels like a fucking fridge.
Yeah.
Let's get this going. Anyways, and then the mom, Helen, she asked Jerry if she's if he's prepared like a speech or anything for his father's ceremony that's like kind of indicating why they're there.
Mm-hmm.
And then he's like, well, you can just do your act, one of your skits.
Yeah.
So it's like, and Jerry's like, this is not going to work over for like a retirement community.
Yeah.
And so that kind of like, sets the scene of why kind of they're there. Elaine and Jerry are there. So his dad is like the president of the, condo community.
Yeah.
Anyways, and when it comes up where everybody's going to sleep, Helen also insists that, they take the parents' bed because, that way Elaine doesn't have to sleep on the pull-out sofa and Jerry doesn't have to sleep on the couch.
Yeah.
And it's like, we'll just sleep on the pull-out. Like, it'll, the sofa bed's uncomfortable. We'll sleep on it. And then, back and forth. It's like, Elaine's like, no, Mrs. Seinfeld, I'll do it. I'll sleep on that. No problem. And she's like, well, I'm up at 6 a.m. It's like, I don't even sleep. So, and then like even the dad pops in and is like, why should I be comfortable? I'll sleep standing up. I'll be fine. Yeah. It's like completely ridiculous that they're putting themselves out for no reason.
Yeah.
Just to be like, yeah, I don't care if I'm uncomfortable. I don't even need to sleep.
Yeah.
Just to be like, I'll lean in the corner just so you guys, can have a bed so that they can exactly. They know that they can bring that up later.
Yeah.
And it's almost like unspoken that Jerry would be like, they would bring this up later. I know their games. So no, we're not playing these reindeer games. The reindeer games here. So Elaine, she takes her stuff into the back room and then Helen sneaks, and pulls Jerry aside to talk to him. They're kind of whispering like, it's like, you don't have to sleep, apart from each other on our account. Kind of like, hanky panky is cool here.
Yeah.
kind of thing. And then Jerry mentions how they're not a couple anymore. Like, so they did acknowledge about the ending to season 2 or, season episode 9 or whatever the hell it was when they became a couple again. And just so they acknowledge that ended with we decided we really didn't work as a couple. Just that's it. And then forget about that whole episode and them being a couple again. Move on. Like that little.
And the timing would have been so much better if they used that as a finale because this would only be 3 episodes later. Yeah. But instead it's like many episodes later.
Yeah. It's like, yeah. That would have been way better to have it at the end.
Yeah.
Anyways. Because the parents never came up until this episode, I believe.
Yeah.
So anyway, so like as they're discussing, this and they're whispering back and forth, the dad, comes up. He's like gets up and loudly talking. What's everybody whispering about? Just fucking blowing up the spot. What about Elaine?
Yeah.
It's like
so loud.
Like definitely. And my dad's not that same age at all, but if we would have, like, we were talking or whatever, he's like, what's everyone talking about? Yelling. Like, my sister would be over, she's talking, and it's like, who? What are you talking about? We're not talking, like, about anybody that you know. It's like, what? I just wanted to know.
Yeah.
It's my house. I have a right to know. Just
so funny.
I'm like, it's not the same, but my dad has some of these qualities. He's becoming a Morty.
Yeah. Is he?
And so Elaine pops in. She grabs something and then leaves. And then Jerry tries to cover up because they were directly talking about her. Covers up like they're talking about something completely random, like sun-dried tomatoes.
You never know what could happen to a vegetable.
Yeah, just the most boring bullshit topic. And Elaine's like, yeah, it seems like that's what he would talk about with his parents. And then she leaves. And then he explains that him and Elaine can't be friends and sleep together. And then the dad's like, friends? Friends? You got plenty of friends. Oh, he's an idealist. The Helen butts in. He's like, what are you looking for? And then Jerry's, I just like looking.
Yeah.
How long are you going to look for? And then Jerry's like, I'm going for the record. So it's a pretty good conversation back and forth between, like, the three of them work really well. Yeah. Just as, like, cartoonish parents. Like, they're the cartoonish caricatures of just, like, annoying parents. And Jerry kind of fits in there. So it's funny how he can just, like, casual talk about casual dating / sex with his parents.
Yeah.
And they did that back in, like, the first episode they appeared in, I think season 1 too. It's like, no.
Yeah.
They're not directly out there saying it, but the fact that it's like they can kind of just casually talk about, well, he's looking, and he's liking kind of thing.
Yeah.
He likes looking. And he's like just going to be single dating, casual dating for as long as he can is Jerry's goal. And his parents like, okay, so no kids, nothing like that.
Yeah.
Anyways, so there's a knock on the door, and it's Jack Klompus and Doris, his wife. So they greet, and Jack teases that they all came all the way down here to Florida from New York for his father's ceremony dinner for the condo president. So kind of adding more of like context of what's going to happen later on. And then Elaine also mentions that they want to go scuba diving too. So it's like two reasons why they came down for the weekend.
And Helen has a huge problem with scuba diving. I don't know what.
Yeah, she does. She does. Scuba diving? What for? And then
like, was that a newer sport? Maybe in 91,
or maybe it was like, thrill sport or something like that. Who knows? And then she's for fun. Like it's an absurd idea for them to go scuba diving in Florida with water, at the sea.
Yeah, coral reefs and all that stuff.
Not that I've ever been, but I'm sure it'd be cool.
Mm-hmm.
I guess I've snorkeled in Catalina Island, like when I was a kid, like when I was like a class trip. But I've never like electively gone like I'm gonna go scuba diving, which is something I could probably do.
I'd enjoy.
But I'm like, I'll do that eventually. Probably won't.
Let's go stay at Joe's house, and then we'll go scuba diving.
Yeah, but he might smoke us because he's a really, really strong swimmer.
True.
I don't know if you ever heard.
He can outswim the propeller on a cruise ship.
Yeah. He's, I think growing up in Florida is like a aqua level of Donkey Kong country for him. He's out there swimming, dodging sea urchins and fucking propellers. He's like, we're out here.
I'm going to have music stuck in my head all day now. Donkey Kong country music.
Yeah, just Joe. He's swimming. He's got a hat on, like Diddy Kong, or maybe just swimming with a tie on. Anyways,
we know you're listening, Joe. If you're listening, send us each $10 so we know you listened.
So, where was I here? Oh yeah. So, but Helen's comment, it seemed like they quick cut off of that when she was having a big old deal about scuba diving.
Yeah.
Because it cuts directly, and I don't know if I just noticed it, as like quick cut to, Morty offering Jack some sponge cake. It's almost like there was more to that, like Helen just going off and them going back and forth and trying to maybe explain scuba diving. And they're like, this isn't really fitting the episode. Cut that.
Yeah. I feel like there's more there and they cut it out. Yeah.
Yeah. And then it goes, like I said, to Morty and Jack. And then he declines the offer for the sponge cake. Doesn't seem like an important detail, but it is.
Yeah.
So take note of that. They mention how Jack is emceeing the ceremony tomorrow and asks Jerry if he's going to do one of his skits.
Yeah, one of your little comedy skits.
Just downplaying what he does for a living. Just like he had to get it. You got to do one of your skits. It's like, what a dickhead. Anyways, he said, no, probably not. And then it goes quickly to, I feel like there's just a lot of dialogue.
Yeah.
In this episode.
But it's well acted though. And the characters are just so well done that you don't mind the dialogue as much.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, the introduction of Jack Klompus.
Yeah.
Great character. He's and he's another one that he's exactly the same throughout the whole series.
Yeah.
Because he definitely comes up again several times in season 7 and then more at Del Boca Vista. Yeah, he's a great character.
Yeah.
he's a good side character. That's where I think we're starting to have the recurring side characters coming in. Yeah. So, so Jack wants to settle up with Morty, which I've only heard that phrase being used for like paying gigs. So like for music or comedy gigs, you settle up with the promoter.
Yeah.
Or for gambling, you're I don't know, settling up your whatever
your debts,
wins and losses, debts. Yeah. So the settling up is for a dinner that they had last night, and Jack's gonna pay him back by writing him a check for $19.45. $19.45.
Yeah.
45 cents. So Morty is in his head, he's itemizing the check, and he asks, who had a Coke? He's like, did you have a Coke? Like Jack, he's like, I did not have a Coke. And as they're going through this, like Helen's like, oh, she claimed the Coke. She's like, I had it. So would a Coca-Cola just be like an extra $1.25 or something?
Yeah, no.
Like it's enough to be like, hey, don't forget you got a Coca-Cola. And then Jack has his bill down to $17.10. And then they split the tax, split the tip. And then Morty says, like, yeah, $20 should be fine. He's like, stands his ground. Here's a check for $19.45.
How much was the tip? If it was,
I don't know.
So he added $2.35. That's the tax and the tip. So if you doubled it, it'd be $4.70 was the full tax and tip on this freaking meal. Yeah. Here's $1 for your troubles.
Yeah, that's probably what's like. Tip $1 for everything.
Yeah. I remember going to Restaurant Zone. People would get their, if it cost like $7.50, and they'd pay $10, and they give back $2.50, and they're like, "You can keep the $50 and put the $2 in their pocket." I'm like, just
yeah,
so just whatever change is in your pocket. Here you
go. There's I don't know, for like, if you're gonna like pick up something, like pick up an order, do you leave a tip? Like, say you order something in, you're picking it up.
It depends on where I am at. But the thing I eat now is everything asks for a tip now. Like when you use debit, or if it's like one of those iPad machines.
Yeah.
It asks if you want to add tip. There's a distillery here, and they have a tap room where they make cocktails and stuff. And when you pay there, it comes up automatically. Would you like to give a tip? And then gives you all the options. But if you also just run in and buy a bottle of their rum, they use the same till to cash you out. So you go buy a bottle of rum, it's like, tip? And it's asking like 15%, 80%, 20%. I'm like, do people tip you when they just come in and pick up a bottle of rum off the shelf and go pay for it? Right? So,
yeah.
So I actually asked me today, I'm like, do people actually tip you? They're like, some people do. I think they feel obligated. I'm like, well, good for you. Like, you're getting tips, but I'm not tipping you because I came in the store and picked something up off the shelf and you didn't even help me with anything. All you did was ring me out. So
yeah. Whereas sometimes I'm like, it's like, I'll just do like $1. But I'm like, I think about it, I'm like, well, the person who handed me the food didn't do anything except hand me the food.
Yeah.
Like, I've already paid for it online. I'm like, am I going to leave $1 in their tip jar?
Yeah, it's just awkward.
Yeah. I heard on a podcast before where it's like a guy, he was a total like dickhead, and so it was like a Matt and Shane episode. So they're just asking this guy questions. Like, he's not a comedian or anything, but he just has like his stance on like, it's like, I would just tip $5 wherever, if I'm going anywhere. So like any restaurant, no matter what the bill was, it's just $5. Like, yeah, fuck them. He's like, $5 is enough. It's fine. I'm like, so if it was like $100, you'd tip $5. He's like, yeah,
it's $5 for everything.
Yeah. Anyways, so so he's standing his ground on the 1945, and he's like, you got to get your dad down to the exact penny, or else it's like a feed him moves a muffin kind of thing. He's just gonna take it all. And then, did you notice all the Jerry photos and artwork on the wall at the parents' house?
I did not.
Yeah, if you look, there's a artist like painting, like it looks like modern art painting of Jerry in the background. And then there's also, looks like a little picture of Jerry, like two pictures of Jerry stand up on like, I think they're not hanging up on a wall, or one's on a wall and the one's like on like a kind of like a console table deal, like a dresser, bookcase. That's it. And then I'm like, there's like 4 pictures of Jerry. The parents, they love their boy. And I just like that. It's like, I have a painting of my son in my house.
It's like Kyle with a painting of himself.
I love that idea. So as he's writing the check, Jerry notices Jack's pen and he asks about it. It's an astronaut pen. Like it writes upside down, for like zero gravity, and it can write upside down. And they use them in space.
Why not use pencils? Am I right?
Yeah. Well, where are the shavings gonna go?
That's true.
Yeah, we just have shavings everywhere,
floating in all the mechanicals.
Just getting in all the devices. But Jerry notices and asks where he got it. He's like, "Oh, I've heard about those." And he wants one because he, writes in when he's in bed sometimes. So and he's always like, "Oh, I have to kind of get up and lean on my elbow so I can write." Whatever like ideas he has for jokes and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And
in the bonus features on the DVD, Jerry had the pen in his pocket. He's like, I didn't know you were going to bring this up. And he pulled it out of his pocket. It's like,
yeah,
pretty sure he knew.
It's great. Yeah. But Jack, he says, oh, it was a gift. Like, he definitely knew where the hell he got it. He bought it. Yeah. He just like didn't want, it's almost like, oh, I don't want you to have it kind of thing.
Yeah. I want to be the only one with the pen.
Yeah. So he's like, okay. So he offers Jerry the pen. It's a lot of back and forth. Like, oh, take it. No, I can't take it. No, take it. Da 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 da. I want you to have it. Da 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 da. And they go back and forth. And then Jerry eventually takes the pen. And so he's all stoked. He's pretty stoked about it. I'm like, oh, this will be great. And then they leave. And Helen is mad that Jerry took the pen.
He didn't really have a choice. He's like, take the pen. Take the pen. Yeah. He's like, do me a personal favor. Take the pen.
Like, yeah. Yeah, exactly. He's like, Jack loves that pen. He talks about it all the time. And knows that there's going to be drama now. Yeah. Rumors are going to fly around that condo that Jerry forced Jack to give him the pen. Yeah. Essentially. And like, yeah, it's funny. Like,
let's see if I can find one on Amazon. You carry on the show. I'm going to go on Amazon
here. Yeah. check that out. So, he's like, back, she's just going off on Jerry. It's like, he didn't think that you'd accept the offer. It's like, well, he was wrong. He's happy with the pen. And then Morty thinks that, she's just overreacting, making a big deal out of it. And Jack can give away a pen with all his money. He still thinks he got away with a free Coke.
Yeah.
Didn't order a Coke. And then it goes, and it's nighttime. Jerry pops in to the back room to chat with Elaine, and she can't sleep. It's too hot, and the pull-out sofa has a bar that's too uncomfortable. Like, it's like a bar support that's like right in her lower back. And Jerry, he's sleeping on a love seat, and he's like, his legs are so scrunched up and like to the sky that he feels like he's in a space capsule. He's So, and then he kind of mentions it's not so bad. It's only 3 days. It's like Friday's done, and then there's tomorrow, and then we leave Sunday. It's 1 day, really.
It's really 1 day.
I like that. Sometimes use that logic if you're somewhere you don't want to be. It could be even just like work and be like, yeah, it's almost the weekend. I mean, today's almost over, and then Fridays are pretty easy, and then we just have Saturday. It's 1 day, really. Yeah. Like, I'll do that all the time, just lying to myself. You just that it's like after showers and everything, it's like that. You're done.
Yeah. Take a shower.
It's a cup of coffee. Yeah. And then Elaine mentions like about, why don't they turn on the AC? I would fucking hate that.
Oh,
so sleeping when it's hot is a bitch for sure. And just waking up covered in sweat. Fuck that. And it's been hotter here, right? Mm-hmm.
If you're staying at if you're staying at a friend's house or a relative's house,
yeah,
and you had to sleep or you're hot and you feel disgusting and your back hurt,
yeah,
and you come out in the morning and say, how'd you sleep? What are you saying? Are you gonna say you should have the AC on and your bed's uncomfortable, or would you just be like, oh, I'm good?
Yeah, I think I would push for like, oh yeah, it's a little too. I've done that before where I've like been at like a friend's house and like you like sleep and it's way too fucking hot.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, I can't do this. I got to crack a window or something. And then, or you just suffer the whole night.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm not getting any fucking sleep.
Don't want to bother anybody.
Yeah. So I know it's been like hotter here in San Diego. And then there's one night where I think maybe it's just power on the block or whatever. went off for like a little bit and then came back on. But I was sleeping with the fan on.
Oh.
And then when the power kicked on, the fan didn't turn back on.
Yeah.
And I wake up at like 3 a.m. I'm like, like I would just got out of a pool. Not that bad, but I'm like, what the fuck is going on? Did I turn that off? Yeah. And like I was drenched. Also, like I run pretty hot, so that's why I'm like I like it as chill as I can be.
Yeah,
that's the move. If I had AC, I would abuse it. Maybe that's a good thing I don't have it. Anyways, so Elaine, she's kind of like has a good like physical bit here where she's like she's under the covers on the sofa bed, and then she starts throwing it like a tantrum. She's like, I can't, right in my back. And then she's like flopping around, tearing up the sheets like a fish on the bed. She's like flopping. She's like, this bar right in my back, it's making a dent. I thought that was pretty good.
Yeah, the physical part was hilarious.
Mm-hmm. And then Jerry kind of does like a get a load of this guy about, Jack writing a check for 19. Says, yeah, what about that guy writing a check for 1945? And then it gets to the morning. And then Morty is giving Jerry directions, probably to go scuba diving, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
And then, Helen butts in again with your scuba diving. You're going underwater? What's so special there? Under there.
What's so special up here?
Yeah. And then Jerry just, what's so special up here? And then Elaine wakes up and she can barely walk. She's kind of hunched over and her back is all fucked up from the sofa bed. Yeah. And she's like, the mom kind of does like, I told you so to Jerry. Like, see, told you what, see? Like, see what you did? And then she's like, we could have slept on there. And then Jerry's like, then your back would be messed up. So it's not like it's like your solution was better.
No, it's still going to hurt.
Mm-hmm. Elaine can't go scuba diving and just tells Jerry to go alone. And then as she's like dripping in sweat, like you could see she's like completely drenched. And then she asks Helen to please, Mrs. Seinfeld, turn on the AC. You're hot?
Yeah.
She's drenched. And she's like, I don't even know how to turn that thing on. And then a friend pops in to say hello. And then she asks Jerry, like, so where's the new pen? Like, already she heard that Jack, Jerry has Jack's pen.
Yeah.
She heard it from Blanche. And so that's the hot rumor. It's going around that Jerry took the pen, flying all over the Del Boca Vista or whatever, the condominium or the condo complex that they're in. Because immediately Helen gets a phone call about it. It's
like right away.
Did Jack give it to him or did Jerry take it? So it's like just bullshit drama about like nothing. It wouldn't really like, it's funny because like that scenario really wouldn't happen today because you could just do exactly what you did earlier. Amazon, Google it, and you could just get the pen instead of saying like, oh, I got to go to a store and find that pen.
Yeah, I got to figure out what store to go try. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Try and find it. So anyways, they're all wrapped up in arguing about the pen while Elaine is miserable in the heat. And then like he's like, oh, can you turn on the AC? And then Morty's like, oh, I got to try and figure it out. He's at the, push, like looking at, I don't even know how to work this thing. And then it cuts to the next day or it cuts to later that day. And then Helen's all bundled up and she's got like, I don't know if it's like a blanket or a really big jacket on that she's sitting on the couch. AC's on, obviously. And then Elaine's on the floor because of her back. Yeah. So she's laying there and Helen insists that Elaine, you should miss the dinner or whatever, the ceremony because of her back. And then Morty is like, suggests she take some muscle relaxers. And like, that ought to do the trick. No problems there. Anyways, but Elaine says that they, you can bring the temperature down if you're too cold. And then as she's rocking back and forth, bundled up, she's like, oh, I'm fine. She's obviously freezing. Yeah. And then she just pretends like, no, this is great. I like this actually. So Jerry comes back,
chair all bundled up and everything.
Yeah, she's like trying to like for warmth, just short of like teeth chattering cold. Yeah. Jerry comes back with what looks like 2 black eyes. Mm-hmm. So apparently his capillaries burst. So as he got 10 feet under from scuba diving, he had his immense pressure in his mask. So he looks like he got punched in both eyes. Jack Klompus stops by to ask to borrow Helen's red pocketbook for the dinner. For his wife, because the pocketbook has to match the shoes.
But in this situation, the pocketbook's like a clutch, like a small purse. Mm-hmm. But in the other episode with the files, the taxes, they called it a pocketbook, but we thought it was something that carried books. So I'm all confused with the term pocketbook again.
Yeah, I know. That's what So the pocketbook was two different things in back-to-back episodes.
Yeah. I was like the pocketbook. I'm like, what? And then I'm like, oh shit. I thought we figured it out, but we're still back where we started.
I like how he's like, I has to borrow your red pocketbook. And he looks down at Elaine on the floor because the pocketbook has to match the shoes. What's she doing? Yoga? And then he asks what happened to Jerry. And then Jerry gives him a gag answer. He's like, I got into a fist fight with one of the ladies at the pool.
Helen's just disgusted. She's like, she's going to tell people this happened now.
Like, no, you're like, yeah. It's like, that rumor's I'm ending it right now. It's like, it's from scuba diving. Yeah. And then Jack comes in right away with the same thing. What's to see underwater? It's like they're all opposed. You live in a place right next to the fucking water, and you're like, the water's overrated.
Yeah.
And so Jerry tells Jack that he appreciates the gesture, but he wants to give him back the pen. And then so after some back and forth, he takes it back. And then Morty gets in Jack's face. You got a lot of nerve taking that kid's pen. It's my pen. And then he's like, he practically begged me for it. Just distorting what actually happened. And then
you offered me sponge cake yesterday. Did I take it?
Yeah. That's his whole thing. He's like, do you think I take everything that's offered to me? That everybody offers me? You offered me sponge cake yesterday. Did I take it? He said, you said you didn't want it. It's like, of course I wanted it. I love sponge cake. It's like, why in the fuck? It's just all this made up drama. It's great.
Yeah.
I think, like you said, I guess, they really nailed what it's like to live in this community.
Just a bunch of people retired, nothing better to do but fight with each other.
They're like cut off from the outside world, that they just make up their own politics and stances on things. Like, I did. Of course I wanted sponge cake. Well, why didn't you fucking take it? Well, he didn't take it because he saw how upset Morty was that he took the Scotch tape. And then Morty's like, aha, it was you. Scotch tape. He's like, it was you. I've been looking all over for that. He's like, well, you can have it back. He's like, I don't want it back.
We're both fighting over not wanting the Scotch tape.
He's like, why don't you take the pen and Scotch tape and get the hell out of here? And he leaves in a huff. And Morty and Helen are both like, well, I can do without either one of them. just, and then Jerry's like, what the hell is going on in this community? It's just old people bickering about really nothing.
What's driving into this behavior?
Yeah.
Is it the white shoes?
The white shoes, the humidity is making them all crazy. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
They'll get into arguments over a Coke, a pen, tape.
Yeah.
And then, from the floor, Elaine, she, cuts in and asks about the muscle relaxers. So, and that scene ends, and it cuts to the dinner, and Elaine's on one, obviously. She had one too many of those pills, and Jerry's wearing, black aviators to cover up his what looks like black eyes.
Yeah.
And you tell Morty still mad at Jack. And then Uncle Leo shows up with Jerry's aunt Stella, and Jerry introduces them to Elaine. And then in an imitating of Brando from A Streetcar Named Desire, Elaine yells, Stella!
And every time I hear the name Stella, that goes in my head every single time. I don't think I've heard the name Stella since then.
Yeah.
Without
it's I never really watched that movie, Streetcar Named Desire. So Elaine,
No, but not even
Stella,
that part though. The Elaine part's what sticks in my head.
The
yeah.
Elaine, that definitely sticks in my head more.
Yeah.
Just
I got
to
a
go.
friend, their dog's named Stella. And every time they send a picture of the dog, I just reply, Stella. Or I send the gif of Elaine.
Yeah, because I was like, just to give context, I'm like, I knew that was from, Brando or whatever, this Stella, but I'm like, I don't know if I've ever actually seen it. So just to refresh my memory, I went to go see the clip. I'm like, in my head, Elaine's more iconic than the Brando.
Yeah. I
could be.
I knew
blasphemy,
before what it was
but
from, but I forgot. So I asked Ashley what it was from. I was like, yeah, I've never seen it. And
then, she yells it again. And then Jerry just tries to brush it off with like, her back hurts.
Yeah.
And then Aunt Stella mentions how they saw him on the Tonight Show. And then, Uncle Leo's just going off like, Johnny was really rude to you. He barely let you speak. You also need new material. I've heard that dog joke about 3 times. Just talking to Jerry about shit he has no idea about. You should get your cousin Jeffrey to write some material for you. The dad pops in. He works for the Parks Department. He's funnier than the whole bunch of you. Just, dickhead. And then Jack comes in, and then they all start to head to their seats. So, cuts to the beginning of the ceremony, and Jack is emceeing the event.
Mm-hmm.
And because I watch with the subtitles on, I guess I never really have seen it as M, or like spelled out, EMCEE.
Yeah.
I've already seen MC.
You were thinking like MC Ren from NWA.
Well, because I guess, isn't that the same thing as Master of Ceremonies?
Yeah. I don't know why.
But is rap MC different?
I don't know what MC definition would be.
Because I always see MC and the letters MC.
Yeah, yeah.
And in my head, it stood for Master of Ceremonies. So I had to Google that to be like, is EMCEE a thing? And it is.
Yeah, I knew it was the way it was spelled out in a fancier way.
But yeah, I was just like, I got just hung up on that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, I'm like, I shall Google it. And and then I never got to the part about like, why do they call them rap MCs? Like, it's just been a thing.
Yeah,
like,
they just call themselves MC.
Mm-hmm. But anyways, so Jack is leading the ceremony and he's kind of treating it like it's a he's treating it like it's a roast. He's just reading some light jabs and jokes that he has at Morty's expense, and then people are liking it, and then Morty is not having a damn one.
No.
Sleeping on the job, I didn't do that. It's like, he's just kidding.
So I'm going to cut back here for a second.
Mm-hmm.
I guess the term MC, which
Mm-hmm.
stands for Master of Ceremonies, is just the letters MC, but then it's spelled out as a title,
Mm-hmm.
but it's actually comes from the letters MC. I don't know.
Is it different than rap MC?
Same thing.
Okay.
Yeah. Master
Weird.
of Ceremonies.
Mm-hmm. But anyways,
Like Daryl Mack.
he's just, yeah.
DMC.
Yeah. He's Morty's not having any of this fucking these jokes. And he stands up and yells about Jack. He's like, why don't you tell him about how you stole the pen back from my son?
He's just roasting him like you would expect in a thing like that.
Yeah.
He's doing the roast. He just keeps getting more angry, and then he just starts yelling with the pen.
And then they both get into an argument, and they kind of like right in each other's face. And then Jack's dental plate breaks. I had to look it up, what the hell that is. It's a partial denture.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm just stumbling over my words. Maybe I got dentures in. It's a partial denture. And then he's like, you broke my dental plate, you son of a bitch, I'm gonna sue you. And then they're in the corner kind of just off stage arguing. And then Helen's like, Jerry, do your act. They're all gonna leave. He's like, what?
Nobody's even listening.
Nobody's even listening. They're gonna leave if you don't. And so he goes into this bit about airline peanuts. And then he just met with hecklers, one of them being Larry David. Yeah. Who the hell are you? So when you go to the airline, you get peanuts. It says, not, what is it? It's like, I don't remember what the woman says. Like, not my Lloyd. He flies first class. Just like let the joke happen.
And the other guy's like, I'd rather have a bottle of scotch.
Yeah. Just yelling. You can't even get the. And then there's still like old man bickering off stage while they're going. So it feels like amongst all the chaos, Jerry just yells. It's like, all I said was I liked the pen.
Helen leans into it and says, do the dog routine.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just utter chaos. And then Elaine yells, Stella. And it gets to the next morning. So it just, yeah, that didn't go so well. It didn't go so hot for Morty's ceremony there. And then there's a doctor, and he's seeing Elaine about her back. And he says she needs to stay put for 5 days or she'll aggravate the back.
Yeah.
And so 5 days, and Jerry tries to weasel out. It's like, well, you don't really need me here.
Imagine leaving her at your parents' house.
Yeah. And she's not having it. It's like, well, I'm just, okay, we'll be here 5 more days. And then Evelyn, the friend from the previous day, she stops by to ask if Morty has a lawyer yet. Because her nephew could do it. Because, her nephew could do it and says Jack has no case. Yeah. So he's going to sue him for his dental plate. Make sure you get every penny out of that one. Yeah. So then she also says that there's a vote to kick them out of the Seinfelds out of the condo complex for unruly conduct.
Yeah.
And they just have to suck up to one more person. Is it Dr. Chernov?
Yeah.
Good news. You just have to suck up to this one guy so he doesn't vote you out. Morty wakes up and he slept on the fold-out couch. And he is, leaned over. Looks like a lowercase R as he's walking out of there. My back.
Have you ever slept on one of those polo coaches?
No.
They always have this bar going right across the middle that digs in your back. Like, why? At some point, someone could redesign this so it doesn't dig into your back.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I have never slept on one. I'm gonna give it a shot.
Do not recommend.
No. But yeah, Morty, his back is also killing him because of he can barely walk. And then Elaine looks at Jerry with everything that's going on. She just says, 5 more days. Well, and then he goes into his whole thing. So, well, today's almost over. Weekdays go by so fast. Yeah. And Friday we leave, so it's 2 days, really. And it's
like a cup of coffee.
Go by like that. It's like, no, we're not buying that. How fast you thought this weekend would go by, and no. That Saturday was
ever.
Yeah. It was a jam-packed Saturday you had. So it ends with a stand-up bit about Florida not being hot and muggy enough for these old people. It's like, if they, ever land people in the sun, there'd be, these old retired guys. They'd be there just sitting on a park bench, like trying to get a sweat going. And then it's, I don't know, it's true. It's like Florida, Nevada, Arizona are for sure like retire, capitals in the U.S.
Yeah.
It's going to, of like those states. Dry heat or muggy, just, it's got to be hot.
Yeah, exactly.
And my whole thing is, maybe it's like the older you get, you just become more lizard-like. You just got to go find a rock to soak up the sun and then just get the blood going.
Move down with the gators.
Yeah, just moving. Just you're sitting on a big old rock just there. I'm like, this is great. And then it's over. This episode didn't have a middle stand-up bit.
It didn't. I noticed that too. That they just.
Yeah, I didn't notice until the end. I'm like, I wonder if they. Well, I guess this was episode 5, right? Mm-hmm. This aired the 5th, or it was supposed to be.
Yeah, it's supposed to be the 5th episode. Yeah.
Okay, but it aired 3rd.
Yeah.
Okay. I wonder if maybe after, this is maybe when they started like cutting that part out. Because eventually it goes, spoilers, there's no stand-up bits ever. It's just a cold open and ends.
Yeah.
So there's no, I think it's pretty, I think it might be, I don't know. I don't remember. I think they had stand-up bits all the way to season 5.
I thought they did too.
But, and then I kind of jumped into season 7. I'm like, wow, there's no stand-up bits. And then like they lean really heavy into the bass riff and stuff like that.
Yeah, they
It wasn't so hot in this one.
come back from commercials and stuff. They cut it in more too, right?
Yeah, there's a lot more bass riffs and a lot of different ones, but I don't think I even remember that in this episode.
No, it was
I think maybe just at the end.
It felt very much like a sitcom at the time, where it's just like screen went black, comes back, continues on. It was just
Yeah. So, yeah, this episode was great. It was totally different because it really only had 2 scenes or 2 like sets.
2 sets, and it's definitely an episode that you couldn't write this episode today because you saw a pen, you're like, cool pen, and you're like, I'm gonna go online and buy one.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? and the even when they're at the dinner, someone said, I'm missing the Golden Girls for this. Like, that wouldn't be an issue now. You just watch Golden Girls on Netflix when you get home. Right? It wasn't.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just not trying to think of growing up, if a show was on that I might be missing. Would you weigh that out? Like, well, I could go to that dinner, but I'd really like to catch the Golden Girls tonight too. So if you didn't see it that night, when were you going to see it? You had to wait for reruns, which weren't happening right away. So
yeah, so
insanity.
I think the premise of the episode, and definitely all the meat on the bone, is the characters and their drama.
Mm-hmm.
So it could totally be an episode for today, but you just have to like punch up the script a little bit.
Yeah, just different drama.
Like, what would cause that bickering and unnecessary drama?
Yeah.
Is kind of the thing. So, but yeah, it's definitely. I think you had maybe said earlier, it's like this wouldn't be an episode you'd pitch to like get the series picked up, or even definitely wouldn't be one you'd be like, hey, I have a friend and they've never seen Seinfeld, watch this one. Doesn't mean it's a bad episode. It's just like, because they're not in New York.
Yeah.
There's
no George, no Kramer.
And a heavy reliance on the side characters.
Mm-hmm.
They create the drama. There are a lot of the comedy of it, I would say. Not that, Elaine isn't funny. She has definitely her moments, but I feel like a lot of the bigger laughs for me were Jack.
Oh yeah.
And Morty just bickering.
Yeah,
and just like 2 dogs just like, you gotta, it gets right up. You got a lot of nerve taking that kid's pen. He's like in his 30s. Yeah. Jerry's a man.
That kid.
You taking that kid's pen? Hey, practically begging me for it. They are both 2 crotchety old men living in their own realities.
Oh, yeah.
In the same complex with each other.
Yeah.
That they see the world in completely different ways and opposing views
So
of something that didn't need to have that much of emphasis on it, which is great. I think they conveyed that really well. So anyways, yeah, good episode. You can follow us on social media. We have Instagram and Twitter linked in the description, as well as our YouTube channel. Subscribe, give us a sub over there, and you can watch a video podcast. And I think that's kind of it for now.
you can see my Playing Without a Pilot t-shirt.
Oh yeah,
Mm-hmm.
there we go. See my hair fresh out of the shower.
We're styling.
Yeah.
For our half dozens of views.
For
half
our art.
dozens.
Yeah. Oh yeah, big time, man.
Yeah. We're going to be famous.
Well,
right, but we'll catch you all in about 2 weeks.
All right, see ya. Bye.
Goodbye now.